It's your friends Dave and John from Thank You Plant Medicine. Feeling good today, John. Tell us about this legendary guest that we're going to be bringing on here in a few moments.
Well, our legendary guest has one of the most legendary organizations in the psychedelic field, named Chacruna. She's been a trailblazer for the psychedelic community for over 15 years or 20 years, coming out of Brazil and investigating the psychedelic field. She is an anthropologist and publisher of many, many great books. And her name is Bia Labate. She is now in the planning stages, in the final planning stages and organization of one of the most exciting meeting conference that is going to come online very soon, called the Liberty Summit, the Psychedelic Liberty Summit that Chacruna is planning. And we are hosting her. We have the honor to host her here today. So very exciting times.
Well, John, without any further ado, let's bring on the legendary Dr. Bia Labate. Hey, Bia, good morning.
Good pronunciation of my name, guys.
Did our best.
We're so happy to have you here with us, Bia.
I'm happy too.
Would you mind introducing yourself to our viewers, just in case any of them don't know you already, please?
Okay, hi everybody. Hi from quarantine in San Francisco, where I'm staying at home. I hope you are all healthy and safe, and we're all on this together. And my name is Bia Labate, and I have a PhD in anthropology and from the State University of Campinas in Brazil. I have been studying drug policy, shamanism, ritual, religion, and plant medicines, especially ayahuasca, but also peyote and others, for the last 23 years. I am the executive director of the Chacruna Institute for Psychedelic Plant Medicines. I also have a part-time job in MAPS, where I'm public education and cultural specialist. I'm related to two different departments in the California Institute for Integral Studies in CIIS. And I live in San Francisco, California. Have lived also in Mexico and in Germany and in Brazil.
Wow. Thank you for being with us today. Dave, why don't we start with a little story of how we met Bia, if you remember, you remember that moment.
Tell us, Johnny boy.
So coming out of the World Ayahuasca Conference back in 2019, Dave had an idea about creating an online movement to share healing stories. And Emily Sinclair and Bia Labate were the first two people we talked to about getting the Thank You Plant Medicine off the ground. And it was a very enlightening conversation we had with Bia back then. And what was very interesting is that since that day, we have exchanged hundreds of emails with Bia, and she was one of our biggest supporters, watching our back as we move forward with the grassroots movement and the build-up, and really providing us amazing advice on every step of the way when we needed it. And that's how we forged our relationship with Bia, and getting to know her, and she's getting to know us. Then I met her in person in the Horizons conference, and Bia supported us then in the Horizons conference as well. And it was such a pleasure over the time to deepen our connection and relationship with Bia. So that's the little anecdote.
Beautiful. Look, we have Kelvin tuning in from Newcastle. He says hello. Thanks for tuning in, Kelvin. And yes, viewers, please let us know where you're watching from. This is lovely to see. Bia, I'm interested to hear about this very exciting summit next weekend. However, first, I would like to ask you a bit of a personal question. What is it that really lights you up, Bia? What is it that just gets your energy sizzling to maximum
Um, I confess I love to be on stage, hold a microphone, talk, talk about psychedelics, travel, give lectures, do live interviews, organize events. I'm kind of like a team person. I like big groups. I like a lot of people. I like, kind of this adventure, this energy, like camp energy of a lot of people doing things together. And I like to make jokes and I like to have fun. I like to combine friendships and personal relations with awesome projects with psychedelics. That's what I most like. You're biased.
Beautiful. Now check this out. We have Lawrence tuning in from Dublin. Good to see you, Lawrence. Zai from Lebanon. This is cool. And we have Kike from Teruel, Spain. And look at this. We even have Sirizal from Indonesia. Ah, what a pleasure to see how global our audience today is. So, Bia, yeah, you're a wealth of interesting information and stories. I love watching your videos on YouTube. But tell us a little bit about this event that's coming up. Not this weekend, but the next one. I know you and your team at Chacruna have put in a lot of energy into making this happen. You're bringing in amazing speakers. You're doing it online. What is this event all about?
The event is called Psychedelic Liberty Summit, and the main focus is to discuss decriminalization, legalization, medicalization, commodification, and access. So it's about the rights to consume psychedelics and the new regimes to regulate it, but also our obligations and the needs of, ethics, sustainability, conservation, inclusivity of diverse populations. So as this becomes more and more mainstream, as MDMA and psilocybin advance in clinical trials and potentially become legal medicines in 2022 or 23, and as the global spread of ayahuasca continues, and as the movement of decriminalization advances, we're aiming to have a global discussion about these new systems that are emerging, the new psychedelic businesses that are, or the new psychedelic industry that is coming into the space, and a bunch of related issues. It has a very, specific vision and curation.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. All I
sounds,
can say is
I
wow.
can't.
sounds
I lost
fantastic.
you.
Looking forward.
Can you hear me now?
They stayed speechless towards my.
We can hear you. You can hear us.
I can't hear you, but you hear me.
You, yeah,
Do
we
you
hear
hear me?
you. Yeah, we
Yeah.
hear you.
Okay, well, we have Vismay tuning in from Florestal. Good to see you, friend. Look at this. Henny from the Netherlands.
You can
Maria,
hear us, Bia.
Amy from Washington, and Ray from Pensacola. John, you can hear me, right?
I can hear you, but I think Bia cannot hear us. So maybe she does a refresh. I'm going to send her a message.
Yeah, Bia, refresh your browser. Okay.
I send her a message on WhatsApp.
Wow, we have.
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting, to see what Chacruna has created, because they specialize in very in-depth look into whatever is going on in the psychedelic community, and they're extremely rigorous with the research, and selective with the people they bring on board the leadership summit. So it's
I still can't hear you guys.
You can't hear us?
no, we can hear you.
Hmm.
Let's try again.
Well, in the meantime,
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
You hear us?
well, a little glitches here and there. Good morning,
Yeah.
Leon. Or good afternoon, rather. Hello.
Maybe we ask the audience what questions they'd like us to ask Bia. That'll be a good way to go. As Bia comes up online again.
Hey, Gordon. All right.
Dave, while I'm conversing with Bia here to see how we can bring her up.
Okay. Yeah, please, audience, put your questions in through the comments, and we can also put in our questions, John, through the comments. And
yeah.
So let's bring Bia on the screen here. Thanks for your patience, everyone, with these little fun challenges.
Hello.
So
yeah, you hear us?
Or most.
You hear us now, Bia?
So, John, maybe you could send her a couple questions, like what speaker is she most excited about, and
no, I don't hear you. I can't hear you. I don't know why. I'm sorry. Maybe you can talk to me. Make the questions in WhatsApp, and then I can.
That's exactly what I'm doing. I sent you a question.
Yeah.
Okay. They're asking me what speakers I'm more excited about. I'm excited about a bunch of things. It's hard to define exactly. There is one panel about indigenous woman voices in peyote. I think that's pretty unique. I have never seen this done before in the psychedelic field. There's another panel that is discussing conservation, ethics, sustainability, that have some really strong experts on conservation of peyote. We have different peyote organizations that are joining us, the Indigenous Peyote Conservation Institute, the Wisharika Research Center. Our friends from Nierica in Mexico are also community partners. There's a Comanche institution, the CIA, that studies eagles and breeds eagles. They're also participating in the conference. So there's a strong emphasis on peyote. Peyote is one of the main focus of the conference. Peyote conservation, Native Americans. We have different ethnicities of Native Americans. We have people from South America and the world of ayahuasca, which is already kind of more known and more famous. But from the U.S., we have Lakota, we have Navajo, we have Shoshone Bannock. We have a Troy, who's Comanche, a woman from the Obije Nation. So 5 different ethnicities from the U.S. That's a whole big track. Peyote is one of the main topics with conservation, sustainability. But we also have a very nice panel on decriminalization with representatives of the main initiatives in the U.S. So talking about the Oregon psilocybin initiative that is trying to legalize psychedelic assisted therapy in Oregon. The folks from Denver that have decriminalized psilocybin in Denver. Ryan Munavar, who wants to put a ballot on psilocybin in the state of California. David Bronner, who is a big philanthropist and has been supporting different initiatives. He has supported Oregon, Denver, decriminalize nature. So that's another big, strong panel that we have that is pretty exciting. And then we have another panel that is on medicalization and commodification. That's, let's say, one of the more hot topics of the conference. So we have Dr. Victoria Halle. She used to work in the FDA. And Gregory Kearns, he is an expert on public health and has been thinking about ways to integrating psychedelics into mainstream public health systems in the United States. Brian Anderson, he is an MD that has conducted research with psilocybin in the University of California, San Francisco here, UCSF. And also Ronan Levy, that is representative of the more for-profit sector that defends the idea of, you need to have a more structured and businesses that can scale up psychedelics. And we also have another panel. We have a whole segment that is about people of color. And okay, I'm getting a question here. This is a dynamic global postmodern live stream where I hear the questions by WhatsApp and I speak to the camera, to the invisible beyond, and I look to smiley guys that nod to me. So let's move on.
Yeah,
To
yeah,
what
doing great.
extent can or should entheogen medicine be regulated by medicine for those with psycho-spiritual crisis, or should it be prerogative of public who can seek professional help if wanted? Well, I recommend you come to our summit where we have different panels that address this. It's very complicated. There's different modes of regulation and different avenues for trying to regulate these substances. So one classic avenue is religious freedom. Another avenue is medicalization. Others will say that they prefer just decriminalization and they want the state as out as much as possible. That bringing in the state will bring uh, inappropriate taxing and a lot of bureaucracies and heavy licensing systems and regulations. So they just want to claim that decriminalization is better and have no interference, and other people think that decriminalization is too little, and actually a lot of things are still prohibited, and that also decriminalization has been a bit misrepresented in what it can actually allow people to do. That it's been, like, let's say, overrated in the sense that it's still a very limited set of things that are permitted. And some, a related discussion has been, what should we decriminalize or legalize? Should we decriminalize only psilocybin, that is the one that has a lot of scientific evidence and kind of a good public image, and it's advanced in clinical trials, or should we decriminalize all plants? And some people feel very strongly that we should go for all plants, and others think that all plants is still pretty limited because the other drugs, all drugs are the ones that actually create problems in the criminal justice system of over incarceration and affects communities of color, and police harasses people of color, black and brown communities due to their drug use, and there are disproportionate rates of black and brown people in jail due to drug use. So regulating only plants doesn't really help them because that's not the main focus that has been putting people on jail. And also there's a whole discussion on public health and how criminalization is not good for any kind of substance, doesn't allow for quality control, and creates this violent, corrupt underground market. So some people are just in favor of regulating all drugs, and think that decriminalizing only plants is limited because then you kind of leave the other substances for their own destiny. Other people feel that any incremental change is important. So if you have some change done in some fronts, that is better than not having. So there's a parallel with cannabis. I'd say, instead of just regulating, should we regulate only medical marijuana, or should we regulate recreational marijuana for everybody? And some people will say, well, regulating first medically is a step towards regulating everything. And other people say, well, this doesn't apply to psychedelics. So there's endless discussions about all of this. Some people feel strongly that you should only be able to use it with a facilitator or a therapist or a more controlled setting, and don't believe that community settings have the ability to control, and that they're afraid that decriminalization will raise the amounts of people that take these substances and create chaos, and maybe even jeopardize the advancements with the FDA. And so they don't think we should decriminalize, and we should just wait for clinical trials and have the medical avenue and research. So it's really, there's a lot of angles. There's people that think that the religious route is much more reasonable, and we should be investing in the religious freedom and trying to get the substances, to stretch the definitions of what is religion, and to allow more like spiritual uses or shamanic uses, contemporary uses, to be considered religious, and therefore we should advocate for this path. So really, that's what the conference is all about. There is not one single answer. Let's say, everybody, a lot of us feel that these laws are incredibly unfair, that there is this great amount of injustice and ignorance, and that we should be able to uh, advance other ways and combat the drug laws and combat prohibitionism. But there's not always one single view on what is and what is not allowed, what is and what is not recommended. And that's why we're creating this conference, so we can create a global conversation about this sort of issue. And now I lost completely. All right.
We are here. We are
Do you
here.
have the next question for me? Are we done?
Yeah, we have more questions. I'm bringing it up to you. I'm sending it up to you via WhatsApp. Just a second. I sent it to you, Bia. I think she doesn't hear us. Dave, is she on stage?
No, she disconnected here briefly. Oh, she's back.
Okay. Hopefully she hears us.
Leon says, great answer, lots of angles. Thank you. Really.
From other countries.
Bia, do you hear
All right.
us?
There's a question here if we are bringing speakers from other countries. And yes, we have a few speakers from other countries. We have people from Europe. We have people from South America. From Brazil, we have Dayara Tucano. She's an indigenous woman that is also an expert on human rights. And we have Miguel, who is from the UMIAC, Unión de Médicos Indígenas y Arreceros de la Amazonía Colombiana. And we have Anya Ermakova. She's a student of Martin Terry, and she's based in the UK, but she's from Russia. She's from Imperial College. She's studying peyote conservation. So yeah, we do have a bunch of speakers we have a bunch of speakers from other countries. You also, there's another question. Does Chacruna has a position on indigenous rights and medicalization, and how Chacruna is connecting the situation in the US to other countries where these natural medicines are legal and a national cherished discourse? So it's not exactly like Chacruna has an official position about everything. We have for sure a series of values. We have values that guide our organization. So one of our main values is to create public education about psychedelic plant medicines and to make psychedelic research about psychedelics more accessible to people in general. That's one of the main values of our organization. Another of the values of our organization is to create bridges between traditional uses, ceremonial, shamanic, sacred plants, and the world of psychedelic medicine, psychedelic assisted therapy, and this emergent field. That's another value of our organization. Another value of our organization is to promote inclusion and diversity in the field. So we want to give space and voice to people that normally don't get a seat in the table. So our stars are Native Americans, are African Americans, are women, are people of color, are queer people. Those are the people that we want to shine. We also invite white, straight, biomedical male scientists. We also have those, but they are not only our leaders. We don't promote an event with 5 white men that are medical doctors. That's not what our conferences are about. Our conferences is trying to create these conversations and these relationships and decenter a bit this dispute of power. And the fact is that it's run by women. We have 4 women out of 5 in our board, and I'm also queer, and I am from Brazil, and I am an anthropologist. So just my background in itself is speaking to this diversity. and we put a lot of people from the global south, and we put a lot of native people. So what is our official position? Our official position is that these people have to be heard, and that they
Mhm.
have to, have a seat on the table, which doesn't mean that also that there is a uniform views on what native people thinks, because there isn't such a thing as a shamanic tradition. There's multiple traditions and multiple perspectives, even among Native Americans, both in the US or in Brazil or Mexico, Peru. There is not one unified position. And so our position is to give voice and to create it, and to create this conversation and this dialogue. But of course, we also have a curation. It's not that all voices matter and all voices are the same. No, we select. There are some voices that don't have a seat in our table. We're not inviting homophobic, racist, transphobic, sexist people to speak in our conferences. So that's part of our values. Regarding the peyote conversation, it's important to balance. It's one of those cases where you have on the one side Native American rights, land rights, territory rights, and you have a dispute of different sets of laws. So you have Native American laws, and you have laws regarding conservation, and you have laws that involve drug laws. So they are conflicting interests sometimes. Sometimes laws clashes, and there's contradictory situations. Both the role of peyote and eagle in Native American cultures invoke those two sets of laws: drug laws and conservation laws. So
Mhm.
the eagles, they are protected. The feathers that are used ceremonially, you can't just go and hunt these eagles. So we have invited Troy. He's from the Sia ornithological, I don't know how to say this word, conservation project. They breed legally, they inseminate artificially eagles and breed them. They're Comanche Nation, and they distribute this to legally, federally recognized tribes in the U.S. They have bred hundreds and hundreds of eagles, and they have special permission to use these feathers. And we also have invited the Indigenous Peyote Conservation Institute, that has a wonderful project to cultivate, or not cultivate, but to conserve peyote, to protect peyote. And so we're talking about this sort of thing. When it comes to medicalization, I guess there's a bit of a difference between plants that have a history of traditional drug use, traditional ceremonial use, versus substances that don't have. For example, if you want to create a pill out of ayahuasca, and if you want to create a medicine, a prescribed medicine, then perhaps you should be talking to indigenous people that use ayahuasca traditionally, and to consult with them. So also this is a little part of our conference, to create this conversation about the ethics of creating clinical trials with ayahuasca, and how should we think of ways to compensate or reciprocate back, or even consult native people about their opinions. So psilocybin is also another interesting case, because you have traditional uses of psilocybin, but psilocybin is also mushrooms also are grown here in the United States. So who exactly owns this? Is there a problem of cultural appropriation? Should be asking the Mazatec or other indigenous groups in Mexico, what do they think about big clinical trials with psilocybin? And then we also have substances like LSD or MDMA, which people can say, well, it doesn't matter because they don't have indigenous use. But even so, the scientists didn't invent the wheel. They observed native people using those substances, and by studying those molecules, they created new molecules. So indirectly, it's also a legacy of indigenous people. And so there's all
Mhm.
these kinds of discussions. And another related issue has to do with this globalization of ayahuasca. That's kind of one of my main expertises and my topic of research, about the ethics of this globalization and the challenges as ayahuasca becomes more and more popular, and the genie's out of the bottle, and every weekend there's a new celebrity trying ayahuasca. There's one new documentary per second. There's a new TV show talking about ayahuasca. There's a new tabloid talking about ayahuasca. There's a new, even I just got a sticker nobody cares that you drink ayahuasca. It's become so, you know, global and prevalent that there's even a sticker or a menu that says ayahuasca, you know, is the title of a drink. And so we Chacruna talks about, as we go global, what are we doing to do harm reduction to this globalization and think of more ethical aspects. And we have created the ayahuasca awareness guidelines to avoid sexual to raise awareness about sexual abuse in ayahuasca circles. That has become a big topic in the universe of ayahuasca. Unfortunately, there's a lot of healers that take advantage of people's naivete or their vulnerability, and there's just a lot of cross-cultural challenges. We've also published a very nice document called The Commodification of Ayahuasca, How Can We Do Better, which is raising issues about you know, ways to mitigate this inequality that is being created, where sometimes, you know, the retreat owners are foreigners and the shamans or the locals end up being kind of like maids or service people in a retreat owned by foreigners, or the foreigners telling the shamans how they should run their ceremonies for the best consumption of other foreigners, and, you know, not paying taxes, not properly compensating locals, and sometimes tokenizing locals. What is the tokenization? The tokenization is to put an indigenous image to kind of represent this indigenous
Hmm.
ancestral wisdom, but not really taking that indigenous person seriously, and not,
Hmm.
you know, just representing that for the sake of diversity, to say, oh, okay, we are diverse and respect indigenous people, but they appear without a name in the website. They don't have an ethnicity. They have this generic categorization of a kind of, you know, pan indigenous person, but they're not a person with a name and an ethnicity. There's also a lot of makeup, and we support global community, we support local communities, we have a hospital, we have a school, but when you go there and you look, it's not that you know, strong. So we have discussions about all of that. It's not up to Chacruna to say we are against, you know, that. I mean, yes, we would prefer in an ideal world that those things don't happen, but we're more proactive and trying to create bridges and dialogues and a kind of positive peer pressure and community awareness. So, you know, you can throw rocks and you can sit on your Facebook and you can, you know, get your anger and you can trash and you can be angry and you can be like, you know, calling out everything. Sure, you know, you spend your time doing that. We rather spend our time doing conferences, publishing books, creating dialogues, creating community bridges, creating forums where everybody gets a chance to speak, and creating conversations to you know, unite us as a community and think together on ways to move forward. So we're very for proactive actions. We have a website with over 100 articles about different topics on regarding psychedelics. All our articles are free. We put all our videos of all our conferences for free online. Yeah, and I got carried
Wow.
away in my answer. Perhaps you want to
No, that's great, great,
send
great
a new
answers.
question in
Yeah,
our
yeah.
magical.
I have another question for you. So the question is,
What
what
would
would
you
you
say
say?
to someone who has never participated in a psychedelic conference? What is so special about them? I can't tell you, baby. Like, what would you say to a virgin? What is it to have sex? Like, you have to
I
try it.
love
Like, it can hurt and you can feel it's not so good, but then you start liking it. Uh, I just think it's awesome. It's I am a little bit especially emotional these days because I'm celebrating today 10 years of being with my partner, and we met
it.
in a
Oh,
psychedelic conference. So we are a psychedelic conference partner. And, you know, I love to go to conferences. I am a sort of conference rat. I confess, I am a nerd of conferences. I love conferences. I love to wear those badges and say, hi, I'm from Brazil, I'm Bia, and I meet you and make new friends in conferences. And yeah, it's a total bummer that we have a global pandemic. You know, for us, that is a small nonprofit. It hit us. It hit us hard because, you know, conferences, a lot about the conferences, the is what they say in Mexico, radio pasillo, the radio that happens in the hallways. That's like where you get the real news. The radio that is on the hallway where everybody's talking, and then there's a lecture. So a lot of what happens in conferences is radio pasillo. It's the connections you make, the
Uh-huh.
people you meet, the community, this wonderful, like, it's a sponge that brings together all the rats, get out of their hiding spots, and they all sign up, and then you just, potentially meet people that are kindred with you. It's this incredible funnel of mind liked people, where you can make professional connections, make friendships, open new doorways in your head, in the world of imagination, in the world of thoughts. What I think is hot about conferences is that they lubricate your mind, and you get, like, your libido is raised with the amount of incredible, exciting information that you get delivered. It's like a Disneyland of the world of ideas, where for 3 days you can play in any of the games, and you can go in any of the corners, and you can line up in any of the spots, and everywhere there's something strong happening. There's an interesting conversation. There's an idea that you never thought about, and that's just going to revolutionize. And while you sleep, you're going to think about that idea, and then dream with that idea. And it's just like a series of days where you enter this kind of altered state of mind and space. And one day of a conference is like, it's like a condensed year of things, of every moment, every interaction, every single detail can be magical. I like it. I have organized conferences since, my first one when I was 26 years old in 1997. And it's horrible. It's really, really, really hard to make. It's a nightmare. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has a criticism. Everybody gets offended with everything. Everybody presses you. Everybody's like critical. It's hard. It's hard work. It's managing a lot of egos, managing a lot of people. Get kind of crazy. Their egos get so crazy. Like, people will say, I refuse to participate in your conference because you didn't put me on that panel, but you put me on this one. So therefore, you don't recognize my work. Like, speakers' egos are crazy. And there's also a lot of other competing interests, institutional interests, like gender, race, geography, disciplines, approaches. It's very delicate to make this mix. And nowadays everybody's throwing a conference. It's kind of really, really, really weird, because it's, as the field expands, this is happening to us in all areas. So you have the sharks that start to circulate. They never took psychedelics. They don't know what psychedelics is. What are they even interested in psychedelics? And they want to invest in psychedelics and create psychedelic businesses. And there's the new psychedelic hype, and everybody wants to throw a retreat center. Everybody wants to throw ketamine clinics. Everybody wants to create a new drug development program, or a new, psychedelic assisted therapy company, or make a patent of a new substance. And there's all that. But in the realm of culture, it's the same thing happening. Oh, I am a guy that I made millions of dollars in the world of cannabis. So now I'm going to throw a psychedelic conference. So I Google psychedelics. I go to LinkedIn. I find a bunch of people that have psychedelics on their CV, and I throw together conferences that are organized by people that have no ties to the community, never tried psychedelics, never published a paper about psychedelics, have no leadership position, and sometimes no knowledge, no intellectual vision, no curation, and promise researchers who sometimes are naive and just offer their work for free because they are used to, because there's never money. The field of psychedelics has very little funding. It's not a field that is, swimming in money, and researchers are very, used to working for free because there's so little funding. There's not official fundings. The majority of research is funded by private donations, and so researchers just normally work for free. And they are approached by these big investors, asked to join their conferences, and uh, end up joining their conferences, and lend their legitimacy and their brand to the conferences. And so it's also becoming a kind of pantano. I don't know how to say that in English. The like a
Swamp.
mishmash of waters, what it is a psychedelic conference nowadays. Back in the day, it was done by us, by researchers, by lovers, enthusiasts, activists. That, all psychedelic conferences, we have the classic ones. MAPS has the psychedelic science, ICEERS has the World Ayahuasca Conference, Horizons has been doing 14 editions. We have the folks in Australia of the EGA. We have Breaking Convention in the UK. We have a series of our conferences at Chacruna players, but now it's just popping up. It's the field is growing, and the field of culture is also growing. And the same thing with publications. Before, we had a few sites that reported on psychedelics, and now you also have people that have no expertise and like are creating websites and whole venues to talk about psychedelics without having that expertise. So we're trying to raise awareness in the field to this as well. And our conferences, they are different because we come from within, and we have you know we do our homework. Conferences is not just to go there and shine. Before we started a conference, we took 2 months consulting our community partners and people that are experts in the field, asking their blessing on whether they were on board with our project. So when we launch our first lineup, we already have the logos of a series of people. Now we have 36 community partners. I am
Wow.
so very sorry that I forgot to, I think, officially invite Thank You Plant Medicine, because it's just have been working so closely, and sometimes it slips through the cracks. People that you have found and work dearly with them, and I don't know if you are there, but we'll fix that. And so the conference is about creating these bridges with the community and creating a movement. We also have a policy that we donate a free ticket for all our community partners, which is a very liberal policy that you don't see normally.
Mhm.
We have given away around 250 tickets for this conference. We
Wow.
have given basically everybody who asked us for a scholarship, so that was nearly 100. And between all the speakers, the community partners, and the Chacruna team, and the volunteers, and the allies, it's another 150 tickets.
Wow.
So we have given 250 tickets away. And as I said, we lost that dimension of being on in flesh, but we're trying to revisit, because that's there is no way out. Either you're gonna lament, or you're gonna, as they say in Brazil, I think they say in English too, do the best lemonade with the lemons you have. So the situation is this: we are stuck at home. There's a global pandemic. Let's not be fake about it. It sucks. We are in a shitty global situation. It's not good. I don't think anybody's, happy about this, but we got to revisit. So we're trying to look on the bright side. Hey, we can have a larger global outreach. We can have more people. We can give more scholarships. We can include more people from different communities, not just people that can come to San Francisco. So, we had two avenues to road: postpone, two our choices: postpone or do it. And we said, let's do it, and thinking now of ways that we can like continue. Okay, I got a new question. I don't know if I'm going on too long. Should I answer, or do we have to wrap it up?
No, we have time. We have time. Yeah, we're super
What is
excited to
my
hear.
favorite pastime during the lockdown? Working on Psychedelic Liberty Summit.
Yeah.
There is no pastime. It's just this. For me, it's like we're like on this tunnel. I don't really like technology so much. That's not my forte. And we have a big challenge. I mean, it's so crazy. There's also people like hacking conferences these days. Like a feminist company was like invaded by people throwing porn on their conference. Like, it's crazy. You have to do all kinds of things. The world is a complex place. Everything is pretty insane. So we're working hard, to keep the security and to just find a way to migrate that thing on. I kind of wanted to have, if there is anybody there, if you're watching from anywhere in the world and you're like a techie genius, I would like to have somebody to help us think of a way that we could create a community out of this conference, because we thought about creating a Reddit group, a Telegram group, or Facebook group. Uh, how can we continue this conversation online, and how can we sort of create this platform, give some continuity? That is something we're thinking. I think everybody nowadays is thinking of ways to do, uh, uh, to do new online conversations. And
Mhm.
the other favorite thing that I have to do in my quarantine is walk my dog. So this is Dougie. Hey, Dougie. All right. And this is what is giving me some hope
Very cute.
during the time. I go walk him. He's Brazilian American. I'm teaching him Portuguese. I don't want him to be only American. Teaching him good manners. And yeah, that's what I've been doing. Walking my dog, celebrating 10 years of partnership and love life, and working on Psychedelic Liberty Summit.
Okay.
I hope you all can join us. We're very excited. We
Come
think
on.
this is going to be the largest virtual conference ever. There's lots of other topics that I didn't talk about. We're also going to launch North Star. North Star is the super. So I mentioned we have a panel on medicalization and commodification. That is one of the strong discussions for profit and nonprofit, or maybe mixed models like B Corps, hybrid models, or that whole discussion. I mentioned the indigenous presence, the decriminalization. I wanted to talk about the launch of North Star. It's an entity geared towards new players in the emerging psychedelic industry, and their focus is to putting people ahead of profits as psychedelic scale up. So North Star has created an ethical pledge that it was created on a collective process, very, very democratic and interesting, where they included consultation to different stakeholder groups. And this pledge tries to delineate core guiding principles of the psychedelic community. So they're inviting these new players to voluntarily come and sign this pledge, which it has 10 founding principles or 9, and then after, in the end, people can write a paragraph with their own views on what it means to show up with integrity in this space. So it's very much aligned with what I said. The idea is to help to inspire people. It's aspirational. It's not like prescribe them what to do, because the fact is that big pharma and big capital are coming in, and so we can't be naive about that. So it's more about this positive peer pressure and this idea to create an education, and the importance of having ethical businesses in this space, a kind of promotion of harm reduction to business as usual. So we're going to launch North Star. I think that is also, a big part of the conference. And I mean, there's still other topics that I haven't talked about, but I don't know if we have a lot of time. There's the whole track on MDMA, psilocybin, on people of color. What do you guys want
What
to
do you
do?
think? What,
I
wait,
wrap it up. Can you write to me here,
no, no.
Jonathan?
Wait a second.
I
I'll
need
write to
you
you in a
to.
second. Yeah. I'll write to you. I'll write to you.
You need to write to me in WhatsApp.
I know.
This
Hold
is
on,
like the
hold on.
mimic game. I can't understand
Yeah.
what you're saying.
Okay.
Goodbye, or
Wait. Dave, another question? Should we throw another
right
question?
here, right in
Yeah, we'll write
WhatsApp.
here.
I can't hear you.
Um, uh, there was an interesting question earlier, John. It's not. I don't know if it's not that much related, but it's a question a lot of people have. Is like, how often is it safe to do psychedelics? And thank you to all our viewers for your patience with our little these Bia
How
can't hear.
often is it safe to do psychedelics? There isn't an answer for that. It's not something, it depends on who you are, your age, your weight, if you're man or woman, what is your body complexion, what is your, life history. This person, I only did sex 3 times in my life. One was with a person that was, in a medical hospital coma, and the other was with somebody that was like 3 times my age, and the other, was with a dog. So I haven't done any, I have had very little sex. Okay, but 3 times they were weird experiences. So it's like, oh, I only had sex 3 times. How can you say? But this 3 times that you had was very unusual and
Hmm.
problematic. So it's not about numbers, or like, it's the quality of what you're doing. And there isn't a generic, like, there's different substances. There's ones that are more, like social substances, that are like stimulants, like different, coca leaf or coffee or khat. And then there is strong psychedelics. There's different doses. There isn't one recipe about everything, and people are different. It's like music, or some people like tech music and rave music, and some people like Brazilian popular music. It's We have to take out this obsession about psychedelics and consider it things of lives like other things. Like it's like foods. Some people like foods, spicy foods. My friend Siddhartha from Brazil, he's a capoeirista. He's very strong. He's a lot of muscles. He's not very tall. He eats a lot of spicy. It's like, it's different sensitivities. It's different qualities, and we try to think drugs of this like alien, that we have to some kind of special knowledge. No, it's like everything in life. It depends on your intentions, on how you do it, with who you do it, on your personal feelings, on your heart. And so I can't give you a precise answer for that. Is there any more?
Yeah.
How can people register to the summit? Okay, you can go to Chacruna net, and then you can, right on top, you're going to see Psychedelic Liberty Summit, now virtual. We also have created a very cool little video that I recommend to everybody, that we just put there on top of our page. So Chacruna net is the site, and you can, yeah, that's the whole site. And then you go to Eventbrite page. You can also register to our newsletter, um, and you can follow us on Instagram, on our social media, Facebook, Instagram. We have also a YouTube channel that we have 6 conferences there that you can watch, for free during quarantine. And a bunch of live interviews that I did are also there. You can follow us on Twitter, on Facebook, and I'm also on Instagram, Labate Bia, my last name, Labate, Bia, Bia, and I'm also on Twitter. And you can also write to our website. Yeah, and I hope to see you there. We will put this conference online for free, but later, because normally, we would do the conference and then put it right afterwards for free later. But since it's online, we don't feel it's fair with the people that paid, that right the next day this goes online for free. So we're going to wait, a while. We're still seeing how long, a few months. Eventually, this will end up for free, because it's part of our educational mission uh, to be free. And I just want to, wrap up by saying that I thank you. I thank you, thank you, plant medicine. I think you guys have had this purity of heart. I feel a little bit guilty that when you first looked me, I was skeptical. Uh, but everybody do their, what their role. Everybody has to do what they think they can, how they can uh, help. And I think you have been amazed to create this global community. And I think the thank you, plant medicine movement is a symbol of how people are hungry. We are swimming, and there's a bunch of hungry fish out there. Like, people want community. Everybody who took something like ayahuasca, you know iboga, peyote, mushrooms, and they feel that beauty and the blessings in their heart and that magic, that connection with the source of everything, that shortcut that shows you in a disturbing mirror to your face what you got to do, and cut all the crap and know right inside your heart and your soul who you are and what is right for you and how you have to improve and show up better. And then we all feel touched. We don't know what to do with that. What do we do with this? Where do we go? How do we hold this? It's too big and it's just too much, and we're educated in a way that we don't know what to do with that. And so I think movements like this, they are a sponge to these anxieties that we people don't know where to go and how to share. And so I don't know if thank you plant medicine is going to help to revolutionize and change everything, but it's certainly an important piece to find community and spaces where people can exchange those you know those connections with respect and love, and creating conversations and communities. And I think you created a big following, you have a big platform, and I think is your challenge to decide where to take this movement next and what's next, and how you're gonna maximize and leverage this to bring it to even another level. And how can we better advance this global community with all our complexities and contradictions and frictions and inside differences? But we are definitely together on this boat, and in global pandemics we are more together than ever. We're so connected and there's no way out, literally. It's up in the air. So thank you very much, and I hope to see you all in our upcoming Psychedelic Liberty Summit. Big hug, much love from San Francisco, California.
Thank you so much, Bia.
Thank
This
you so
was
much.
amazing.
We love you.
Okay.
Ah, what a pleasure, John.
Wow. Yeah, amazing speaker, and it's such a as she was speaking about the thank you plant medicine and her perspectives, and I get these shivers in my heart area, like completely like buzzing with emotion, because her heart is being felt in everything she does, and that's what I like so much about Bia and Chacruna. And when we did the tribal gatherings for the organizations, and having Bob and other team players from Chacruna helping us out, guiding us, and watching our back, and giving us the best advices. It's been a pleasure, and we're so grateful for them. And we really hope the Liberty Summit is going to be a stellar success, and as many people will join, just because Chacruna, they specialize in bringing this amazing, diverse buffet of information and races and genders and preferences, and keeping the conversation real, a conversation that is grounded in knowledge and wisdom and understanding. Yeah. And I think that's what is so special about Chacruna. And you can just jump on their website and you can see how in depth they take things, and how seriously they take things. And for them, psychedelics is not a buzzword. The team has been going into the Amazonas, into Peru, into Brazil. They do research, and at the end of the day, they want to see a world where, and that's my interpretation, the modalities are available, are accessible, but are respected, right? And that's something that is, as we talk with everybody in the field that we've been talking to, I think that most of the people that we talk to want the same, want it integrated in a good way. And yeah, it's such an honor to have her on board here. What did you feel? It's a live stream. We didn't talk much. We're so lucky. Bia is so eloquent.
Yeah, my hairs stood up on my arms several times during the conversation, and yeah, feel honored. Feel honored to be able to host Bia and leaders in our network and in our Facebook group, and it's to be able to help them in a way. Their work is so important. So honored to call Bia a friend, and I'm going to check out the summit. It seems really amazing. So
Yeah.
and
Me too.
and yeah, it was interesting how it's true. Now that she mentioned it, that at first, when we first approached her, since we were complete newcomers to the sphere, she was skeptical of Thank You Plant Medicine. But then through all the hundreds of emails ping pong back and forth, and she was always available to discuss and to talk, she turned into such a big advisor for us, and now a friend and an ally. And she's very forward looking to see like what can be done. And this is something you and I talk about a lot. That this is just the beginning of what can be accomplished by working together. So it's a very exciting time.
Yeah. I second and echo what you just said. Great. Thank you so much for the viewers. This has been a long one.
Yeah, interactive viewers today with all your comments and love and questions. Yeah, thanks for being here. Wishing you a fantastic day.
Yeah, have a great day.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.